The arrival, the night was quiet, but not the kind of quiet that felt safe. It was the kind that made the skin crawl, as if the stars themselves were holding their breath. A man walked alone across the rocky ground of a forgotten moon. His name was Daniel, a human traveler who had seen many strange worlds, but this place felt different. The air was thin, the ground cracked, and even the wind seemed afraid to make a sound. Daniel checked his scanner, expecting silence. Instead, the machine clicked and blinked with faint signals. The readings were small, weak, but alive. Something was out there. He frowned, adjusting the controls. Life signs here were not supposed to exist. Then he heard it. A sound that froze him in place. It was not a roar, not a growl. It was soft, like a child's voice. A whisper. At first he thought it was his imagination, but then he heard it again, clearer this time. A small cry. Daniel raised his light. The beam cut through the darkness, bouncing off the jagged rocks. The shadows shifted. His hand moved to his weapon, ready for danger. But what stepped into the light was not what he expected. They were small. Small like children, but not human. Their skin shimmered with pale colors like glass touched by moonlight. Their eyes were wide and too large for their faces, glowing faintly as if holding their own light. Their movements were unsure, their steps quick but frightened. There were 5 of them. 5 little alien girls. They looked at him the way lost animals might look at fire. Scared but desperate for warmth. The tallest one, who barely reached his waist, stepped forward. Her voice trembled when she spoke, broken words in his language. "Please, help us," Daniel froze. He had been across dozens of systems, met soldiers, merchants, criminals, even monsters, but never had a group of small children, alien children, stood in front of him begging for help. "What are you doing here?" he asked, keeping his voice steady. "This place is dead. No one lives here." The girls looked at each other, then back at him. Their faces were full of fear, but also hope, as if they had been searching for him all along. "You, human, you must help. Please." Before he could ask more, one of the smaller girls cried out and grabbed his leg. Her tiny hands were cold, shaking. She pointed back into the darkness behind them. Daniel turned his light. The rocks stretched into shadows, silent and empty, but his scanner began to beep faster, warning of movement. Something was there. Something big. "What is following you?" Daniel asked, his voice sharper now. The girls said nothing. Their eyes darted toward the dark, their bodies trembling. The tallest one finally whispered, "It hunts. It never stops. It will find us." A cold shiver ran down Daniel's spine. "Why me?" he asked. "Why come to me?" The tallest girl stepped closer. Her glowing eyes locked with his. Her small voice shook as she said words that made no sense, yet sent a chill through his chest. "Because you are the only one who can." Daniel's heart pounded. He had never seen these creatures before. He didn't know their names, their world, or their story. Yet here they were, pleading with him as if he had been chosen long before this moment. Behind them, the darkness shifted again. Rocks crumbled. A low sound echoed, deep and unnatural, like metal grinding against stone. The scanner shrieked, the signal strong now. Something was close. The girls clung to him, their small frames pressing against his sides. He could feel their fear through their shaking bodies. Daniel raised his weapon toward the sound. His training told him to run, to leave this place before he became prey himself. But the sight of their wide, glowing eyes stopped him. 5 little girls alone on a dead moon begging a stranger for help. The ground trembled lightly under his boots. Dust rolled from the cracks in the rocks. The sound grew louder, closer, like heavy steps dragging chains. Daniel narrowed his eyes, steadying his weapon. He didn't know who these girls were. He didn't know what hunted them. But he knew one thing. Something was about to arrive. Something that wanted them badly. The night seemed to hold its breath again. And then the tallest girl whispered, almost too soft to hear, "It found us." The air grew colder as the sound faded into silence again. Daniel's hand stayed firm on his weapon, but nothing appeared from the shadows. Only the heavy breathing of the little alien girls broke the stillness. Their glowing eyes darted from rock to rock, waiting for the darkness to move again. Daniel finally lowered his weapon, though his heartbeat refused to calm. "All right," he said, his voice firm but low. "You asked for help. Tell me what you're running from. What is chasing you?" The tallest girl shook her head quickly, her silver-like hair falling across her face. We cannot speak its name. If we do, it hears, Daniel frowned. Superstition, he thought at first. But the fear on their faces was too real, too sharp. These weren't stories. Whatever they fled from was real, and it was near. The smallest of them clutched his arm, her tiny hands trembling. Please, take us far. Take us away. Daniel pulled her off gently, trying to keep control of the situation. I don't even know who you are. Why should I trust you? The tall girl lifted her head. We are the last. Her voice cracked, but she forced the words out. Our world gone. Our sisters gone. Only us now. Daniel's chest tightened. He had seen worlds burn before, civilizations turned to ash by war or hunger. But looking at these 5 fragile children, it was harder to ignore. Still, he didn't like being dragged into other people's wars. If you're the last, then why me? There are ships, colonies, stations across this sector. Why find one man alone on a moon? The girl stepped forward, staring at him with glowing eyes too deep for her age. Because we were told. Daniel's eyes narrowed. Told by who? The girl lowered her gaze, refusing to answer. The silence stretched, broken only by the low hum of his scanner. Finally, she whispered, We know your name, Daniel. He stiffened. His grip tightened on the weapon. You shouldn't know that. The others huddled closer, nodding as if this was proof of something. The smallest repeated softly, almost like a chant. Daniel. Daniel. You must help. The sound of his own name from their alien mouths sent a chill through him. He had never told them. He hadn't told anyone here. Yet they knew. How do you know me? He demanded. His voice echoed across the rocks. The tallest looked up again, her glowing eyes wet with tears. Because you are the one who chooses. You can say no. Others cannot. That is why we need you. Her words made no sense, but the weight in her tone made his chest heavy. He didn't understand, yet he couldn't shake the feeling that something larger was at work. Something that reached far beyond this dying moon. Before he could press for more, the ground rumbled again. A low growl, like machinery moving beneath the stone, rolled through the air. The girls clutched him, their small bodies shivering. It is close, one of them whispered. It never stops. Daniel raised his weapon again, scanning the horizon. His mind raced. He had choices. Leave them and escape, or take them and face whatever nightmare stalked them. Every instinct screamed at him to walk away. But then the second smallest looked up at him. Her glowing eyes, bright and innocent, locked with his. If you leave, she said softly, we die tonight. Her words were simple, but they cut through him like a blade. Daniel cursed under his breath. He had never been good at walking away from the helpless. It was a flaw, one that had nearly killed him before, and yet here he was again, staring at 5 desperate children with nowhere to go. Fine, he said at last, his voice hard. I'll get you out. But if you want me to risk my life, you'll tell me the truth when we're safe, all of it. The tallest girl nodded quickly, almost too quickly, as if afraid he would change his mind. Yes, we promise. Daniel gestured toward the distant ridge. My ship is there. If we move fast, we can reach it before that thing finds us. The girls huddled together, whispering in their strange tongue. The words were sharp and musical, full of tones Daniel couldn't place. He caught fragments, his name, the sound of fear, but the meaning stayed hidden. He didn't like it. Secrets meant danger, but there was no time to argue. Stay close, he ordered, his voice sharp like a commander's. Do not fall behind. The girls nodded, forming a small line behind him. Their glowing eyes flicked nervously at the shadows as they followed. Daniel tightened his grip on the weapon and started forward, every sense alert. But as they walked, a thought gnawed at him. They had begged him for help. They had cried and clung to him. They looked like frightened children, and yet, when they whispered in their own tongue, he swore he heard something else beneath the fear, something not innocent at all, something that felt like a plan. The ridge loomed closer and the night grew heavier. Daniel pushed forward, unaware that the true danger was not only behind them, but also walking at his side. The journey begins. The path to the ridge was rough and broken. Sharp rocks jutted up like teeth, and the ground cracked under Daniel's boots. Above them, the sky was black and endless, the stars drowned by thick clouds of dust. His scanner clicked softly, warning of faint energy signatures nearby, though none appeared clear. Daniel walked at the front, weapon raised, light sweeping the path. The 5 alien girls followed closely, their small feet making almost no sound. They moved with surprising speed, as if used to traveling in darkness. Their glowing eyes shifted constantly, watching the shadows around them. Every so often, one of them would glance behind, her face tightening with fear, Daniel noticed. He also noticed how they stayed close together, whispering in their strange tongue when they thought he couldn't hear. He hated that. He had led squads before, real soldiers. He knew what it meant when people kept secrets during danger. Secrets got everyone killed, but when he turned to look at them, they only gave him the same wide-eyed expression of helplessness, like lost children clinging to hope. The smallest girl stumbled, her knees scraping against stone. She gasped in pain but didn't cry. Daniel stopped, crouched, and offered his hand. "Up," he said firmly. She hesitated, then took it. Her skin was cold, almost too cold for something alive. He pulled her to her feet. She stared at him for a long moment, her glowing eyes reflecting his face. Then she whispered almost too softly to hear, "Thank you." Daniel nodded, but his chest felt heavier. These weren't normal children. They carried something unnatural in their blood, and he was beginning to feel it. The group moved on. The ridge seemed closer now, a jagged wall rising out of the dust. Beyond it, Daniel's ship waited, a rusty but reliable transport. If they reached it, he could get off this cursed moon. Maybe even figure out who these girls really were. But the night refused to let them go so easily. The ground shuddered again, faint but clear. A low vibration traveled through Daniel's boots. He froze, raising a hand. The girls stopped instantly as if they had trained for this signal. The silence pressed down. Then came a sound, far behind them at first but growing. Heavy, uneven footsteps, metal grinding stone, a rhythm that didn't belong to any living creature Daniel knew. The girls huddled together, their glowing eyes wide. The tallest whispered, "It comes again." Daniel clenched his jaw. "Move, faster!" They hurried up the slope. The path twisted, forcing them between narrow rock walls. Daniel led them carefully, every sense alert. Behind them, the sound grew louder, closer, echoing through the canyon-like pass. The second smallest girl stumbled again, nearly falling. Daniel grabbed her arm and pulled her forward. But in that split second, he swore he felt something, like static under her skin, a faint pulse of energy. He almost let go, startled. But there was no time to think. The group pressed on, breaths quick, steps faster. Then the pass opened suddenly, leading them onto a wide plateau. The ridge was close now, just a climb away. Daniel paused, scanning the open ground. Too exposed, no cover. If the thing chasing them came here, they'd be visible targets. He turned to the girls. "Stay low, follow me." No sound. They nodded, moving in a crouch behind him. Halfway across, the scanner screamed. The signal spiked, close, very close. Daniel spun, weapon ready. The shadows at the far end of the plateau rippled. Something huge moved within them. For a breath, he saw it. Just a glimpse. A towering shape of twisted metal and bone, its eyes glowing like fire. Then it stepped back, vanishing into the dark. The girls whimpered softly, their voices trembling in their strange tongue. Daniel's pulse hammered, but he forced himself forward. When they reached the base of the ridge, he turned. The shadows were empty again. The sound was gone, but he knew it was still out there watching. He faced the girls, voice hard. "We climb now. Do not stop." The tallest nodded, determination flashing in her eyes. The others followed, clambering up the rock behind Daniel. Despite their size, they moved quickly, their small hands gripping stone with unnatural ease. Daniel climbed first, pulling himself onto a flat ledge. From here, the ship's outline was visible in the distance, half buried in dust but intact. Relief washed over him, brief but real. He turned to help the girls up one by one. Their hands were cold, their movements quick. Each time he pulled one up, he caught that same strange pulse in their touch, like hidden power waiting beneath fragile skin. When the last girl reached the ledge, they all stood together, staring at the ship. For the first time, Daniel allowed himself to believe they might make it, but then he saw their faces. Not relief, not joy, something else. The tallest girl's eyes glowed brighter than before, and for a heartbeat her lips curved, not into a smile of safety, but into something Daniel could only call knowing. The others shared the same look, subtle but there. As if the real danger was not the monster behind them, as if it had always been walking beside him. Daniel's gut twisted. He raised his weapon again, though he kept it low. The ridge wind howled around them, carrying dust and whispers. The girls huddled closer, pressing to his sides just as they had before. Their voices blended in soft whispers, speaking words he could not understand. But one word he did hear. One word they repeated again and again, hidden under their strange language, his name. Daniel, Daniel, Daniel. The sound chilled him more than the creature's footsteps ever had. He faced the ship again, jaw tight. He would get them inside, he told himself. He would fly them away. But deep down a darker thought burned. He wasn't sure if he was rescuing them, or delivering himself into their hands. The first attack, the ridge wind cut across Daniel's face, carrying dust that stung his eyes. Ahead, his ship sat silent and half buried in shadow. It was close now, just a short climb down and a sprint across the barren flat. But his gut told him the quiet would not last. The scanner proved him right. Its steady beeps jumped into a frantic, shrill red lights flashing across the screen. Something massive was moving fast. Down, Daniel ordered, his voice sharp. The 5 alien girls crouched low without hesitation, their glowing eyes darting across the darkness. They pressed close together, whispering again in their strange language. Daniel caught only fragments, but he recognized one word, the same word they had whispered before. His name. The sound unsettled him more than the warning of the scanner. Then the ground shook. A crash of stone echoed behind them. Dust burst upward, filling the air. Daniel spun, weapon raised, light cutting through the haze. It was there. The creature stepped into view, taller than any man, its body a nightmare of twisted metal and blackened flesh. Its arms dragged long blades that scraped the rocks, sending sparks into the air. 2 burning eyes locked on them, glowing like twin furnaces. The girls cried out in unison, a sound that pierced the night like a broken song. Daniel fired. Blue plasma cut across the dark, slamming into the monster's chest. The blast burned but did not stop it. The creature roared, a sound half machine, half animal, and surged forward. "Run!" Daniel shouted. The girls obeyed, scattering toward the slope that led to the ship. Daniel stood his ground, firing again. Each shot tore glowing scars into the beast's frame, but it only slowed, never stopped. The monster swung one of its blade arms, striking the ground where Daniel had stood a moment before. Stone shattered, throwing him back. He rolled, landing hard but keeping his weapon steady. Another shot rang out, striking the beast's shoulder and forcing it to stagger. "Move." Daniel barked again, his voice hoarse. The girls had reached the bottom of the slope, but they didn't run for the ship. They stopped. Huddled together, they raised their hands, glowing faintly. Their whispers grew louder, voices weaving like a chant. Daniel had no time to wonder what they were doing. The beast charged again, he fired into its head. The shot burst across its skull, snapping it backward. The thing roared, swinging wildly. Its blade struck the ridge wall, breaking stone in an explosion of dust. Daniel scrambled, firing again and again. He knew he couldn't kill it like this. His weapon could wound it, slow it, but not finish it. Then something strange happened. The girls' chanting rose into the air. Their small bodies glowed brighter, their eyes shining like stars. The ground beneath them pulsed faintly like a heartbeat in the stone itself. The creature froze. Its burning eyes turned toward them, ignoring Daniel. It took a step forward, not to kill, but to reach. Daniel's stomach twisted. The enemy wasn't here to destroy them. It wanted them alive. "Get to the ship," he shouted, running toward them. But they didn't move. Their voices grew louder, filling the air with a rhythm that didn't belong to children. Daniel grabbed the tallest girl's arm, shaking her hard. "Stop that. Move now!" She looked at him, her glowing eyes calm in a way that chilled him more than fear ever could. "It wants us, but it cannot have us. Not while you are here." Daniel's grip tightened. "What does that mean?" Before she could answer, the beast lunged. Daniel spun, firing point blank into its chest. The blast threw it back, but only for a moment. It rose again, smoke spilling from its wounds, and roared. The girls' chanting suddenly ended. Light burst from their eyes, shooting upward like beams. The creature staggered, clutching its head as if the sound itself was burning it. Daniel used the chance. He fired again, striking the beast's leg. It crashed to the ground, roaring in rage. "Now!" Daniel barked. "Run!" This time the girls obeyed. They sprinted across the flat toward the ship, their glowing eyes guiding them in the dark. Daniel ran after them, firing one last shot at the monster. The blast knocked it back again, but he knew it wasn't dead. It never died. The group reached the ship. Daniel slammed his palm against the control panel, forcing the hatch open. The girls scrambled inside, their glowing forms vanishing into the dim interior. Daniel turned back, weapon raised one last time. The beast was rising again. Its burning eyes locked on him, hatred and hunger in their light. It dragged its blade arms forward, pulling its massive body upright. Daniel fired until his weapon clicked empty. Sparks flew, smoke rising, but the creature still stood. With no choice left, he dove inside the ship and sealed the hatch. The monster's blades crashed against the hull an instant later, shaking the vessel like thunder. The girls screamed, huddling together in the shadows of the cabin. Daniel rushed to the controls, powering up the engines. The ship roared, dust blasting from its thrusters. The hull shook again as the beast struck, but then the engines fired, lifting them off the ridge. Through the cockpit window, Daniel saw the monster below. It raised its burning eyes, staring straight at him. Not defeated, not finished, just waiting. The girls were silent now, their glowing eyes fixed on him. Daniel tightened his grip on the controls, sweat running down his face. He had saved them for now, but deep down, one thought echoed in his mind. The monster had not come for him. It had come for them. And if it wanted them alive, what did that mean about the creatures sitting in his ship? The secret revealed, the ship broke free of the ridge, climbing into the dark sky. The engines rumbled steady and strong while the moon's cracked surface shrank below. Daniel kept his hands tight on the controls, his jaw clenched. He didn't look at the girls yet. Not until the ship cleared the atmosphere. Minutes passed in silence, broken only by the hum of the engines. Finally, stars stretched across the black, a sky unchoked by dust. Daniel switched the autopilot on and turned in his chair. The girls sat huddled at the back of the cabin. Their glowing eyes watched him without blinking. Their small frames were pressed close together, like a single shape made of five. Daniel studied them, his weapon resting on his lap. "All right," he said, his voice low but sharp. "We're safe for now. Time to talk." No one answered. "You begged for help. I gave it," he continued. "But I don't risk my life for strangers without answers. What was that thing? Why does it want you alive? And how in hell do you know my name?" The tallest girl shifted. She looked at the others, then rose slowly to her feet. Her steps were soft, but her glowing eyes locked onto him with strength beyond her size. "We told you. Our world is gone," she said. Her voice was calm now, no longer trembling like before. "But we did not tell you why." Daniel's grip tightened on the weapon. He didn't raise it yet. "Then tell me." The girl's gaze didn't move. "It was not war. It was not hunger. It was a choice. Our kind was given a gift long ago. But the gift is also a curse," Daniel frowned. "What kind of gift?" The girl raised her small hand. For a moment, nothing happened. Then faint light spread across her skin, lines glowing like rivers beneath the surface. The light pulsed steady like a heartbeat. Daniel's chest tightened. He had felt it before when he pulled them up the ridge, when they clung to him in fear. That strange static pulse. The girl lowered her hand. The glow faded. "We carry power inside us," she said softly. "Not machines, not weapons, but something older. Something that does not belong only to us. It can heal, or destroy. It can build worlds, or burn them." Her words echoed in the small cabin, heavy and slow. Daniel shook his head. "Children don't carry power like that." The girl's lips curved in a faint, sad smile. "We are children only in form. In time, we are older than you imagine." The smallest one spoke now, her voice fragile but clear. "That is why it hunts us. Not to kill, to take, to use what is inside." Daniel leaned back in his chair, the weapon still firm in his hand. His gut twisted. This explained why the monster never stopped, why it didn't strike to kill. But it didn't explain everything. "You said you were told to find me," he said. "Told by who?" The tallest hesitated, then answered in a whisper. "By the ones who came before. They showed us the path. They said a human named Daniel would choose, and that his choice would decide if our kind lives or dies." His breath caught. "That's impossible. I've never seen you before. I've never seen your kind before." The girl's eyes glowed brighter. "And yet, here we are." The cabin grew quiet again. The hum of the engines was the only sound. The girls kept their eyes on him, calm, unblinking. Daniel rubbed a hand across his face. He had no patience for prophecy, No time for stories about chosen ones. He was a soldier, a traveler, a man who trusted steel and skill, not fate. And yet, he remembered the look in their eyes when they begged, the way the monster had focused on them, the way their chant had filled the air and weakened the beast. None of it was chance. Still, the soldier in him refused to trust. "If what you're saying is true," he said slowly, "then you're not victims. You're dangerous." The smallest flinched at his words, but the tallest did not. She held his stare. "Dangerous, yes, but not evil. Our power is a fire. In the wrong hands, it will burn. In the right hands, it can save." Daniel raised the weapon slightly. "And you expect me to believe the right hands are mine?" The girl stepped closer. The others pressed behind her, their glowing eyes reflecting like stars in the dark cabin. "We do not expect," she said quietly. "We hope." Her words struck him harder than he wanted. Hope was a heavy thing. He had carried it before, for soldiers who didn't make it home, for worlds that still fell. Daniel lowered the weapon, just a little. "You said I can choose, so tell me. What happens if I say no?" The girls didn't answer at first. The silence stretched, deep and suffocating. Finally, the tallest whispered, "Then the hunt never ends. And when we fall, the fire inside us will belong to the ones who seek it. And they will burn not only worlds, but all of humanity too." Daniel's chest tightened. For the first time since he met them, he saw no fear in her eyes, only truth. The ship's sensors beeped softly, pulling his gaze to the screen. He cursed under his breath. Multiple signals were appearing on the edge of the system. Not one monster. Not two. More. The hunt was far from over. Daniel looked back at the girls. They waited silent, glowing faintly in the dark. Their words echoed in his head. "You are the one who chooses," and for the first time, he wondered if saving them had been the worst mistake of his life, or the only chance humanity had left. The betrayal. The ship drifted through the cold silence of space. Stars burned outside the cockpit window, distant and untouchable. Daniel sat in the pilot's chair staring at the scanner. Red signals pulsed at the edges of the screen. More hunters closing in. He didn't move his eyes from the display, but he could feel the girls behind him. Their glowing presence filled the cabin like soft lamps in the dark. Too calm, too quiet. The silence pressed on him until he finally spoke. "We need to hide. If they catch us in open space, we're finished." The tallest girl stepped forward, her small hands clasped in front of her. "You are right. But there are places even they will not follow." Daniel glanced back at her, narrowing his eyes. "Where?" Her lips parted, but before she could answer, one of the others cut her off. It was the second smallest, her glowing eyes sharp with sudden anger. "No, not there," she snapped in her strange tongue, then switched back to his language. "If he takes us there, he will see." "He must not see." The others stiffened. Their whispers broke out like hissing waves, sharp and fast. Daniel caught fragments. His name, the word for fire, and something he couldn't translate but felt like danger. He rose from his seat, weapon in hand. "Enough, no more secrets. You fight each other, you risk all of us." "What are you hiding from me?" The smallest one whimpered and clutched her knees. The tallest girl hushed her gently, but her glowing eyes never left Daniel's weapon. "You cannot understand yet," she said softly, "but soon you must. Because the choice is close." Daniel's jaw clenched. He was done with riddles. "I don't care about choices. I care about staying alive." The second smallest girl stepped forward now, her voice trembling with fury. "He will not protect us. He will turn us over like the others did." Daniel froze. "Others?" Her eyes glowed brighter. "Yes, humans before you. They promised safety. But when the hunters came, they gave us away." The words struck him hard. He opened his mouth to ask more, but the sudden shriek of the scanner cut him off. A signal spiked, close, too close. Then the ship shuddered as something slammed into its side. The lights flickered. Metal groaned. Daniel ran back to the controls. They found us. The girls huddled together again, glowing brighter, whispering their chant. But the second smallest stayed apart. Her eyes blazed not with fear, but with something colder. Daniel launched the ship into a sharp dive, engines roaring. Outside, shadows streaked past, dark vessels built like predators, sleek and sharp. They were fast, faster than his ship. Another hit struck the hull. Sparks showered across the cabin. Warning lights screamed. Daniel cursed under his breath, pulling the ship hard toward a nearby asteroid belt. "Hold on!" The vessel shook as they plunged into the field. Rocks spun past like blades, some larger than cities. The hunters followed, weaving through the chaos with unnatural speed. Daniel fired the rear cannons. Bright bursts shot into the dark, striking one of the vessels. It spun into an asteroid, exploding in silence. But 3 more closed in. Behind him, the chant of the girls rose louder. Their bodies glowed like fireflies, their voices vibrating through the cabin walls. The hunters staggered for a moment as if the sound itself tore at them. Daniel gritted his teeth. "Whatever you're doing, keep doing it." The tallest nodded, eyes shut tight as she chanted. But the second smallest did not join them. She stood apart, her glowing eyes locked on Daniel's back. Her lips moved, but not in the chant. She whispered something else. Something sharp, low, and aimed into the dark. A moment later, one of the hunters swerved, and instead of chasing the girls, it fired directly at the cockpit. The blast rocked the ship. Daniel was thrown forward, smashing against the console. Blood filled his mouth. He spun in his chair, weapon raised. His eyes locked on the second smallest. "What did you do?" The others broke their chant, gasping. The tallest shouted at her in their language, voice sharp with fury. The betrayer's eyes glowed like fire. "He is not the one. He will destroy us." Daniel's finger tightened on the trigger. But before he could fire, the tallest girl threw herself between them. Her small hands pressed against his weapon, her glowing eyes desperate. "No," she cried. "If you kill her, the fire breaks. We all fall." Daniel's chest heaved. His weapon shook in his hands. The scanner screamed again, more signals closing in. They didn't have time for this. The betrayer glared at him with hatred far too old for her childlike face. Her words cut through the chaos like a blade. "You think you are saving us, Daniel, but you are only delivering us to our end." The tallest shouted at her again, voice breaking. The others cried out, torn between fear and fury. The cabin was a storm of voices, glowing light and alarms, and Daniel, caught in the middle, realized the truth. The real danger was not the hunters outside. It was the division inside his ship. The final choice. The ship trembled, alarms howling across the cabin. Red light washed over the walls, painting every face in shadow and glow. Outside, the hunters circled like predators waiting for the final strike. Inside, Daniel stood between the alien girls, weapon in hand. His chest rose and fell with each breath, heavy with anger, pain, and something else, uncertainty. The tallest girl clung to his arm, begging him not to fire. The second smallest, the betrayer, glared at him with burning eyes, her body tense like a coiled trap. The others huddled, torn between fear and loyalty. For a moment, Daniel saw the truth as clear as stars outside the window. The real choice was not between fighting the hunters or running from them. The real choice was between the girls themselves. He could not save them all. The ship shook again, struck by another blast. Metal screamed. Sparks rained from the ceiling. Time was running out. Daniel gritted his teeth. "Enough," he snapped, his voice cutting through their cries. "You want me to choose? Fine, I'll choose." The tallest girl's glowing eyes widened. "Daniel," he raised his weapon, not at the betrayer, not at the tallest, but at the console. One shot fired, and the ship's comm system exploded in sparks. The hunters outside froze, their signals confused. They had been tracking the girls' voices, their whispers. Now the channel was gone. Daniel turned back, his voice sharp as steel. "You think I'll choose between you? That's your mistake. Humans don't play by rules written for them." The girls stared, their glowing faces stunned. The betrayer hissed in their tongue, furious. "He will doom us all." But Daniel stepped closer, eyes locked on her. "No, I'll doom the hunters. Because unlike them, I don't need your power to fight. I make my own." The tallest girl's voice trembled. "But you cannot face them alone." Daniel's mouth pulled into a grim smile. "I never fight alone. Not when others stand with me." He turned to the others. The smallest girl's glowing eyes met his, wide and uncertain. Slowly, she moved to his side. Then another. And another. Only the betrayer stayed apart, her face twisted with rage. Daniel pointed at her. "You want to turn me over? Go ahead. But understand this, if humanity burns, then so will you. Because when humans fight, we don't stop. Not even at the edge of extinction." His words struck deep. The cabin grew silent except for the alarms. Even the betrayer's lips trembled, though her glare did not fade. Then the hunters attacked again. The ship rolled hard, slammed by a beam of fire. The hull screamed. Panels burst open. Daniel threw himself into the pilot's chair, gripping the controls. "Hold on." The engines roared as he pulled the ship into a desperate climb. Rocks from the asteroid field tore past them, smashing into the hunters in bursts of fire. 2 ships exploded, but more closed in. The girls cried out, their glowing forms pressed tight together. But Daniel's voice cut through their fear. "Focus. You said you can burn worlds or save them. Well, now's the time. Decide who you are." The tallest girl's eyes blazed. She shouted something in their language. The others lifted their hands. Their bodies glowed brighter, filling the cabin with blinding light. Outside, the hunters faltered. The chant filled space itself, a sound that struck through metal and bone. Ships spun out of control, crashing into the asteroids. Daniel guided the vessel through the chaos, firing his cannons at the stragglers. Explosions lit the darkness like dying stars. But one hunter remained, the largest, the one that had followed them since the ridge. It tore through the wreckage, blades glowing, eyes burning with hunger. The girls' chant wavered. They were weakening. Their small bodies shook, the light inside them flickering. Daniel knew they couldn't hold on. He slammed the controls, turning the ship straight toward the monster. The tallest girl gasped. "No, you cannot." "I can," Daniel growled. "Because humans don't wait for fate. We make it." The engine screamed as he pushed the ship into a head-on charge. The monster grew larger on the screen, its burning eyes filling the cockpit view. The girls' chant rose one last time, desperate and strong. Light burst from them, wrapping around the ship like a shield. Daniel gripped the controls, his teeth clenched. Impact. For a moment there was only white. When the light cleared, silence filled the cabin. The hunter was gone, torn apart in the blast of combined fire and human will. The ship drifted, battered but alive. Smoke curled from the panels, but the engine still hummed. Daniel sat back, chest heaving. His hands shook on the controls, but his eyes burned with the fire of survival. Behind him, the girl stirred. The smallest whispered, We lived." The tallest stepped forward, her glowing eyes wet with tears. She bowed her head. "You were right. You do not fight alone. You made us choose, not with fear, but with hope." Daniel's gaze hardened. "Remember that. Power means nothing without the will to use it for more than yourself." The betrayer stayed silent, her glowing eyes dim. She did not speak again. The stars stretched endless outside the window. For the first time, the silence did not feel empty. It felt earned. Daniel gripped the controls and set a new course. He didn't know where this road would lead or what other hunters would follow. But one truth had been proven. Humanity was not prey. And when the fire of alien power met the stubborn will of a human heart, the universe itself had no choice but to change.